Carmelo Anthony wraps up what was a very telling and historic NBA career with the announcement today that we find out he is going to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer. He will be enshrined into the Hall of Fame here in his first year of eligibility, and the first thought that came to my mind was, damn, I didn't realize it had been 5 years since Melo retired. Mainly because his last 2 or 3 seasons, he was kind of irrelevant and kind of a journeyman and kind of wearing different jerseys and getting traded around on the back end of trades where he was more of a salary dump than he was an essential part of a team. I thought it had been longer. I was like, oh, I'm surprised this is first ballot territory. Second thought was, how is he going to be remembered? Because for Carmelo Anthony, I start to feel sympathetic towards the guy because all of the great things, all of the linchpin things that you can look to for Melo's career and say, hey, he was this, he was that. He's special to me as a player because of this moment or this era. It's all fading away right in front of our eyes, not even 5 years after he retired from the NBA. The number one thing people would point to with Melo was how he was Olympic Melo. 3 gold medals, was the leading scorer in Team USA basketball history. He was the consistent force for those teams. He was on the 0-4 team that disappointed, but he also came back on the Redeem team the year after that as well in 2012 and 16, and he was the key to a lot of those offenses in those Olympic runs. He was Olympic Melo. We loved and celebrated him as a country for what he did. Guess what just happened in Paris, C-Cat?
USA won.
Not only did USA win, Kevin Durant becomes the person that overtakes Carmelo Anthony's legacy as the greatest Team USA basketball player of all time by passing him in gold medals, passing him in all of his statistical categories that he once held close and near and dear to his heart. And now it's hard to make the argument Melo is the greatest Olympian of all time. KD holds that honor. Then you think about, well, his freshman year at Syracuse, Carmelo Anthony bursted onto the scene as a freshman for a Jim Boeheim Syracuse Orange team that, I mean, they were really good throughout the year. We knew they had a chance to win it, but could you really win the title with a freshman leading you, a guy that would score first like Carmelo Anthony? And boy, did he, right? Like in that championship game, I think he had 20 points, 10 boards, 7 assists. 7 assists from Melo in that game, which was crazy. And I think the game before that in the Final Four, he dropped 33. He was only one of 4 players all time as a freshman to be named the most outstanding player in the tournament. He was one and done. His legacy at Syracuse is like top notch. He is a dog. But beyond that, in college basketball, if you ask the average college basketball player, or excuse me, fan, who had the single greatest freshman year, a one and done year in college basketball, everybody goes Melo. It's hard to argue against that. You grew up in upstate New York. Is there anybody else? Like Melo was celebrated out in your area.
Definitely. He was the guy. When you look at the NBA and you think, okay, I know you can make a case for Kobe and LeBron, but I idolize and I worship Carmelo Anthony, especially going to high school when I did.
Yeah.
And middle school when I did, like the 2010 to 2016.
Oh, you're talking about the Knicks run, too, so you're talking about later. I was really specifically talking about 2002 when he won the championship for the Orange. We'll get to the Knicks run as well, but what I mean is that was it. He's the best one-and-done player of all time. Guess who has a chance to supplant him right now as we speak?
Who?
Cooper Flagg. I'm not saying he's going to. I'm saying we're on the precipice of a Final Four that is all for 1 seeds. You yourself, who loves March Madness, and many others are mad because this tournament has been so chalk. But the one storyline and one moment that could captivate all of America and bring us all back in and love this tournament could be Cooper Flagg showing his ass in the Final Four in San Antonio over these next couple of, or I guess this weekend. He has an opportunity right now to cap off what could go down as the best one-and-done season of all time, and it could be culminated in a championship for Duke. That would be one of the harder routes. When you talk about being able to beat that Houston team that is so deep and defensively oriented, when you talk about being able to maybe put the exclamation point on it by dominating likely an Auburn team that is their average age for their starting lineup is like 24-year-old. They're grown-ass men. Mm-hmm. Like, you can talk all you want about how Melo balled out against like a veteran Kansas squad back in 2002, Cooper Flag is about to play against a team that is their starting lineup is older than the starting lineup for the number 1 seed in the Western Conference of the NBA right now. And Flag entered this college basketball season 17 years old. He was the Ryan Williams of the college basketball season. Like, Cooper Flag could take him off of that mantle. But the one that likely hurts the most, and I can tell you this because I'm going to play a piece of audio from Melo from, I believe it was like last year. But recently on his 7 p.m. in Brooklyn podcast, I'm going to play this piece of audio. The one that hurts him the most, he had at least a stake at being one of the remembered and cherished Denver Nuggets players, despite him asking out, despite him not retiring there and being a guy that was celebrated on his exit. There was a chance that, give it some time and space, fans would come back to Melo as one of their guys. And now, because he sported the number 15, and there's another number 15 for the Denver Nuggets that not only has a championship and a couple of MVPs, but he's well on his way to competing for maybe his 3rd MVP this season, just dropped 61 points. A 61-point triple-double last night in Nikola Jokic. Now that Jokic has literally already wiped Melo's existence off the face of the earth when it comes to Denver Nuggets fans, I think there's very little places when that Melo can call home in the NBA. So I'm glad he's able to call Springfield, Massachusetts, he'll be able to call home very soon now as a first-ballot Hall of Famer. But you can tell it still hurts him that the Nuggets don't really claim him. Take a listen to him hinting at the Nuggets being nefarious in giving Jokic his number 15.
Maneuver? It was a petty maneuver. It wasn't like, oh, we got numbers to choose from. It was like, here.
Take this one.
You got 15.
Ooh.
And y'all put Jokic in the middle of that. He don't know what the
He don't even care.
He could have been like, I want to wear 15. He could have been like, 15 is here. I can wear 15. Oh, that's Melo's number. You know what I mean? Like, just pay homage. I don't know. He could have worn because he wanted to pay homage.
Right.
But what I believe is that they gave him 15 to try to erase
what you did,
what I
your
did.
accomplishments over there. That's crazy.
I used to.
Come on, man. Come on. Again, that's Carmelo Anthony on his podcast. I think with Deezus, Miro.
Yeah, Miro.
Yeah, it's Miro. That's Carmelo Anthony on his podcast saying that the Nuggets intentionally gave Jokic his number 15, which, by the way, is 15. His number 15 is not retired by the Nuggets, and I'm not sure how they can now. I think it's impossible.
You can do it. You can, in the rafters in Denver, you can put up their home jersey and their away jersey with both last names and the different numbers.
Well, here's the question. If you were going to retire Melo's 15, you would have kind of done it already. You've had plenty of time and space to make that shake. He's going to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer. He likely makes his speech in Springfield before he even has his number retired in any arena outside of Syracuse, New York.
That's true.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, if you were going to do it, you would have done it by now. That's for sure.
So not my issue, but looking at it from the outside in, if you were going to do it, you would have done it. The fact that you haven't done it and Melo feels that kind of way about it, you can tell that there's still bad blood. There's still a bad relationship, not just between Melo and the fans in Denver, but also Melo and the actual organization itself, which is the most important part of all of this. When people talk about, is Jimmy Butler going to get his jersey retired with the Heat, the answer is an unequivocal hell no. Despite me loving what he did for the past 5.5 years, Pat Riley and them is not going for it, especially the way that he exited. Melo's not getting his jersey retired in Denver. Jokic made it an even easier decision if you're the Nuggets organization, because now you can always back off of it and say, hey, look, we would have eventually retired his jersey, but he's bad-mouthing us on his podcast. He was a guy that asked out of Denver when we wanted to keep running it back before he ever delivered anything of substance outside of a Western Conference Finals appearance here. And on top of that, there's a number 15 that's won a ring here. That's going to go down as one of the all-time greats, a top 10, top 15 all-time basketball player. Like, that's kind of what's slept on, is Jokic is on that kind of trajectory already. So, again, as Melo learns that he's going to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer, it's funny to me that this comes at a time where there's really no home for him in the league that matters most. His place in college basketball will be forever celebrated and enshrined and loved. That was amazing. His place even as a Team USA basketball player, though he was surpassed by KD already, still, we're going to love those moments. We're going to always celebrate Melo for being an Olympic Melo. He has no home in Denver, and though he always had those great moments you said about, your time as a middle schooler and high schooler rooting for New York's, the Knicks version of Melo, where